Hi friends, it's Dana here in my Lumberjill Garden in northern Wisconsin, and it is early October and it is time for us to harvest our milkweed seeds. So today I'm going to show you some pods that are relatively ready to harvest. We do have a situation this year where the pods, there's a lot of milkweed plants and they're really big, but the pods really just didn't develop. In some cases, I found pods that had only grown like this much and had been aborted by the plant. In other cases, there were flower groupings that just never even formed into a pod. But there are pods all over, just not as many as I'm used to. But most of them are green. Look at that. So this lovely set of milkweed pods is still very green, which is how most of the milkweed look right now. Their stalks are mostly brown. So here's one where it is almost all brown. Pretty much all dried down. That sun is just getting in the way. Let's get in its way. As you can see, the stem is mostly brown, and the pot itself is green still, but there are brown bits on it, starting to kind of dry down. And this pod is probably almost fully mature inside. But it is not one that I would harvest quite yet. I typically like to wait for them to become fully brown, or at least mostly brown, and then starting to split open. So that is my signal to go grab it off the stalk and wrap it up in my twine with a pretty bow like I like to do, and save it for when I want to plant it. So this particular one isn't quite ready, and really today there aren't any that I would call ready, but we can go and look around at what we do have and discuss what it means to harvest them early. So over here by our wood pile, for some reason the milkweed love it. Let me just show y'all. There's all sorts of like little milkweed plants here. That's these ones with like these crumply leaves, and you can really find them in the fall because they turn this brilliant yellow where everything else is kind of still looking green. And so if you're driving down the roadside and you see that those big broad leaves, yellow leaves, amongst all of the green, you're probably seeing a milkweed plant. Now this here plant has a lot of pods. Look at all those pods. That's a nice plant. This stalk, it's hard to tell in this lighting. There it is. See how it's not quite brown yet? Those ones I would mostly leave alone because that tells me there might still be nutrients coming up through the stem. But what I can show you is what the seeds look like if we open them up. Now the pods themselves have natural little seams in them. This one has one right here. Let's look inside. Ooh, there, it's hard to see. Oh, there's some pretty seeds in there. See how brown? Oh no, I'm sorry. Ooh, here we found one. This is an example of a pod that is nowhere near mature yet. You see how those seeds are very white? There might be like a nice brown one in there, but these need more time on the milkweed plant. They are not ready. Now, there's a lot of controversy out there. What happens if I were to pick this and try to dry it down? Well, in my experience, even though it's not optimal, I've done it before because there's a lot of reasons you might do it. One is the weather's changing or snow's coming, or maybe you're just impatient. I've picked them before and I've dried them down in my kitchen, and then tied them up just like I would anything else. And the white seeds turn brown. And I've also germinated them and found that they are viable. So there's a lot of folks who say, you know, this pot is garbage if it isn't allowed to fully mature on the stalk. I don't totally have that same experience, but I do think it's not worth testing if you don't have to. So in that case, I'm going to leave this one on here, and it should develop over the next few days. So this whole clump I'm going to leave, especially, so the biggest indicator is if the stem, or I call it stalk, if it's still greenish, leave it there. Now, if it's not green, let's go find some not green ones. If it's not green, my experience is that the seeds are probably ready. Let's take a walk. So, if the stem is all brown, and sometimes if you break the stem, when it's brown and it is hollow inside and dry, that's a good sign that isn't carrying nutrients anymore to the actual pod. And so all of the maturing that's occurring is happening right at the pod level. And for the most part, it's probably, like, those seeds were pretty much fully formed. They just hadn't turned brown and hardened yet. But for the most part, everything can occur right there once that plant is looking that way. So here we go. I'm going to walk down this way. Some of my trustiest milkweed stands are not bearing fruit this year. Like I said, I think we had some interesting weather. I don't know if it was too wet or too gloomy, or if things just grew up and there was competition. But yeah, we used to have a whole bunch back that way, and the milkweed's all there and it looks good, but no pods. So let's go over here where I know there are some. Such a lovely fall day. There's lots of bees out still. I don't know what to expect. It's supposed to freeze tonight, and we've had a lot of bumblebees this year, and I'm told they don't, only the queen overwinters underneath leaves. That's why you're supposed to leave your leaves. So I don't know if we'll see bumblebees tomorrow. If there's any bee experts out there, maybe you can let me know. All right. Okay, here we got a nice one. So again, that sun is in my way. Let's sit down over here. So as you can see, this particular milkweed plant is completely dry. In fact, I think if I try to yank it out of the ground, it'll probably come. Aha, it did. I don't mind doing that. Oh, we did get some rhizome though. Look at that. Might be able to take that and plant that somewhere. Get some new milkweed. But sometimes I just, more gently than I did just there, take it out of the ground and, you know, leave the roots behind. That's the goal, because the roots are what brings up the new plant next year. But if you look at this particular one, let me prop you up in some grass. Here we go. Okay. If you look at this particular one, so this is all brown. You crack it open. It's dry and woody, and you know, there's no milk coming out at me. That's for sure. So that's a sign that really no nutrients are going up or down the stem. So it's really not playing an important role to this pot anymore. And the pot itself, here it is. Open it up. It's got some really nice seeds in there. Those seeds, though, they aren't quite ready yet either. I like it when they're dark, really dark. So this particular pod, I'm going to give it some more time. And it's off the stem now. But what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll put it in a well-ventilated area. Maybe like a nice sunny spot at the kitchen table, and I'll let it dry into a brown pod. And as it's starting to dry and I can see the fluff starting to puff up, I will actually tie it up with my twine, make the pretty bow, and I'll keep it like that until I'm ready to plant it whatever way I want to. So if you've been following me for a while, you know there's 3 ways I like to plant milkweed seeds. The first is direct sowing. So that's simply just taking these seeds and putting them in the ground. It's best if it's sort of disturbed ground that doesn't have a lot of competition, and that happens in the fall. And then in the winter, I like to do the milk jug method. And anytime after that, you can do germination, which is my favorite because you get to kind of see the magic happen all at once. It's very satisfying. But any of those methods work, and I can show you, if you go to my other videos, you can see those methods in those. But yeah, milkweed's pretty special stuff. I met someone on the road today, and I was picking pods, and he said, "Hey, what are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just getting milkweed." And sometimes I'm kind of embarrassed about that because, well, most people are like, "Why are you picking weeds?" But this man, I said, "Yeah, I'm picking milkweed." And he's like, "Oh, that's wonderful. I had so much milkweed this year." And I was like, "Oh, that's so great." And he said, actually, I was like, "Oh, that means we'll have lots more monarchs, right?" And he goes, "Yes, but it just smells so amazing." And I can't help but agree. It smells so pretty. And I was so happy to know that someone else thought so too. Oh my gosh, there's a toad in the ground. That's funny. Should we see if we can see the toad? Here it is. Oh, it's a big old one. Hopefully you can see that. Hey, Goose. Oh, fall. Still so much life here. But yes, milkweed smells so pretty and it looks so pretty. And of course, it supports the monarchs. So thank you, friends. I hope you enjoyed this video, got a lot of information from it, and I really hope you can plant some milkweed of your own. Thank you so much. Bye.